Hi everyone, it's Sara Specher here, and I can't wait to introduce to you Millen Livis. You probably know her from Facebook. She is an amazing, amazing woman. Words fail me when I think about all that she has accomplished in the world of financials and building the financial independence, lasting wealth, which is also the name of her company. And today we're going to be diving into everything empowering women to build their own lasting wealth. Millen, welcome, and so excited. I'm really, really excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very happy to share with you whatever you want to ask me, and with you and actually your audience. Because this is my passion, this is my mission, so I can't stop talking about empowering women financially.
Exactly. And I think it's such an important topic, especially this year when women around the world are on the rise. We are finding our voice, we are standing up for ourselves, we are collaborating, we are joining forces. And financial independence, I think it's one of those things that we hear about a lot, but maybe are too afraid to really dive deep, or it has a lot of negative connotation attached to it. So your story in itself is incredible, and I know you have been through hell and back in your life, and I would like to start there for the audience to first and foremost get to know you, for those who may not be familiar with you, to see why this is even so much more important to listen to and pay attention to what you have to say.
All right, so I hear quite often that my story is empowering, so I don't mind to share it. I live right now, I live in south of France and South Florida, half. I have a beautiful family. I adore my daughter. I have a very loving husband, and I have freedom of choice. I live where I want. I travel. I work as much as I want or as little as I want. So I do have the freedom that I was so hungry for. Mm-hmm. But as you know, it was not always that way. So I arrived to the United States about 30 years ago without knowledge of English. And even though I had my master's degree in physics, it didn't help, because when you cannot speak, you cannot really have a career. So I started as a florist assistant and worked minimum wage until I self-taught English, saved money for like very, very, basic car that was moving, so I could go to the interviews. And then after 1 year, I found my first job was working as a consultant for Merrill Lynch, is one of the biggest brokerage companies in the United States. And wow. From there, I worked, for major Wall Street companies like Morgan Stanley, American Express, Deutsche Bank, Bankers Trust, Dean Witter. So, at some point, even though it was very prestigious work, and I was very generously compensated, and I appreciated that, at some point this work lost meaning for me. Even though I learned how to invest in the stock market, and I love this aspect of my work, it was just not fulfilling. I remember one day I was staring at the computer and I was feeling like, I don't feel alive. I'm wasting my time. Mm-hmm. And so this awareness brought me to some idea that, I need to change. But again, clarity was not there. So I said, okay, I want to change. And I felt like, I want to have a good degree, good education in this country, because, I had master's degree in physics from my country. Mm-hmm. So I applied to several business schools, was accepted to all of them, and chose to go to the Wharton Business School, which is one of the prestigious mm-hmm. business schools in my country. And, after I graduated with this prestigious degree, everybody was saying, well, now you can go back to corporate and, become even bigger executive. And it didn't feel right. I just really, all the agents that were contacting me, they wanted to put me back, but it didn't feel right. So at some point I said, you know what, I want to apply my knowledge, my experience in my own company. And I started my own investment company. I had business partners, and we started investing money together. And guess what? It was just before the market crashed in 2008. So after the market crash, it was quite a challenging time for me. From different perspectives. First of all, my marriage fell apart, so I left and was living in a tiny apartment near New York City. My business partners were panicking, asking if they can have their money back. With all the stress, I got into a car accident and damaged my neck. So you name it. I mean, you name it, I experienced that within a very short period of time. And all of this adversities basically brought me to my knees. I became depressed without realizing that I was depressed, and got to the point that I was considering, whether it makes sense for me to end my life, because I felt such a failure. Like I felt like failure was like written on my forehead. It was embarrassing to go to the reunion with my classmates from my business school. It was really very challenging time. And as you know, often, when we go through this crisis, now I call it divine crisis, we open up our heart. And even though I had experience with, technical, like investing aspects of investing in the stock market and real estate, I was not feeling abundant inside. I was not the woman that who could really experience the richness of life, the joy of life. So somehow intuitively I started praying and meditating, and that's when I met a coach who helped me to see bigger picture. And he was the one who said, Millen, you have to learn how to play your inner game so you will win the outer game. And at this time, I had no idea what the inner game was, right? So I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And that's when I started really realizing the wholeness of life. I started paying attention to my patterns of thinking. What was my focus on when I was thinking about certain things? And I realized that I'm much bigger than my fears, and that, I'm a, first of all, spiritual being with amazing power that I was not aware of. Like Yogi Bhajan said, you're very powerful, given that you know how powerful you are, right? So I had no idea. So it was an amazing evolution of my awareness, of my consciousness. And to the point that I said, you know what, I want to become yoga teacher, I want to become meditation instructor. So I studied this and got my licenses, and it was a move in a very different direction for me, because I'm like very logical person. I'm very, like I have a lot of masculine energy, so to speak. And certainly I realized that big part of this, of like I said, of the wholeness of life was I was not aware of. And that's how I came to what I call dare to change your life. I decided that I have to change what is not working for me. And that's when the idea of this coaching business came about, because I eventually, when I became more whole myself, my life changed. And my business, started to blossom again. My business partners started asking if they could start investing with me for other opportunities. And so things started looking upward for me. And but the most important thing is that I started feeling better. I realized that, I started to feel more joy in my life. I was noticing seasons again, nature and flowers. And it's like, life is so whole. And sometimes we focus on a very small portion of this, whether it's building a business or, making money. And it's very important to have integrative approach. And that's how I came up with this, what I call now the millionaire method, my 4-dimensional integrative method to approach to building lasting wealth. Because this approach includes practical aspects like managing your money intentionally, and growing your wealth through strategic investing, but also very important aspects of inner game that now I know what it is, right?
Yes.
Which is the mindset, aligning yourself with abundance mindset, and also leveraging the divine power that we all have within, and this awareness of this power already creates amazing opportunities in life, like I discovered myself. So, and like I said, eventually after I became more aware of everything, it took me about 7 years to become financially independent. And what it means is because people feel that being financially independent means that you have to have millions and millions of dollars or billions, whatever. And it's not exactly right, because basically your income and your income should be higher than your expenses, right? So you need to find sources of income, especially if it's passive income, that's preferable, where you have a freedom. If you want to work, you can work. If you don't want to work, you still have enough income to cover your lifestyle. So it's a balance between your choices in life and your choices as a lifestyle, and your choices in terms of how much or how little you want to work. So that's why when I achieve financial independence, right now I can choose whether I want to work or not. I don't feel that I have to, and I can choose where I live, and I can choose who I work with. So that's the freedom of choice that I think is priceless, and that's what I want for other women to experience, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's my mission and my passion.
There are a lot of things that I want to kind of bring together for those who are watching and listening and taking notes, because there are a couple of points that you touched in chronological order that are kind of separating the ones who are just wishing and hoping from the ones who are going after it and making it happen for themselves. The first thing you mentioned, when the life brought you down to your knees, when there was nowhere else to go but inward, you opened up your heart and you listened. I had similar experience myself with depression, postpartum depression. Life pulled the rug from underneath me. It's like, oh my gosh, strategy is no longer worked. Business knowledge no longer worked. What else is left? It's going inward. It's building a mindset. And then as you're growing and evolving and you're starting to shift towards the abundance mindset, it's exactly what you said. You create everything on the inside, and then what happens externally is just a reflection of it all. And it doesn't happen the other way around. I love that you bring together the two parts, the practical and then the inner game and the divine, actually 4D. Can you tell us more now for those women here who are listening and who are like, well, I have heard all about passive incomes, and I have heard about funnels. I have heard about, things that we hear in the coaching industry. What you teach goes way beyond that. It's not about funnels. It's not about courses. It's really building wealth in a very different way, right?
So, like I mentioned, everything starts with the inner game, and you very adequately said that whatever we have inside is reflected in your life. So if you have some challenges with money, it's because something is not, some old programming is still running in your mind, and that's very important to kind of uncover this, bring this to light, and see how you can change it. And this is so essential that I teach this as a separate course, and I also include this mindset aspect in my Lasting Wealth Academy, my 4 months program. So, but I also feel that when I see that people only focused on mindset as important as it is, there is another aspect of money, the practical aspect of money, because some people, they feel that they don't make enough to save. So and they look for excuses why they don't have savings, why they don't have money, because the income is not enough. And I can tell them that my income was very, very little, and I had a goal. I needed to buy a car in order for me to look for a job. So I was managing my money so intentionally that I was able to save so I could buy a car. So it's very important to have a goal that will inspire you, that will motivate you, because yes, you cannot spend more than you make. I mean, it's impossible to become financially independent and build wealth if you, no matter how much you make, if you're still spending more, which is unfortunately quite common for people from all walks of life. If you still spend more than you make, you will never be free. So you have to decide, if you want to be free, then you need to find a way to be intentional with your money, to be disciplined with your money. So, and that's part of what I teach in my Savvy Money Management, right? And I think it's also a good idea, if freedom is one of your core values, it's a good idea to calculate, like, what kind of lifestyle you would like to have. What is the cost of this lifestyle that you would like to have? And then, I call it financial freedom number, and then see how you can get to this number, right? And that's what I teach, like what kind of sources of income you could add or adjust in order to get to this number. And I like to say that savings are seeds to your wealth, right? You need to have savings to build wealth. But investment is a fertilizer for growing your wealth, right?
I like
so
that.
That's why I like to say that, start with savings. And I always suggest that it's important to have, women, especially women, we usually really need financial security. So for some reason, men not as vulnerable when it comes to financial security, but for women, it's very important. So I suggest that you keep about 3 to 6 months worth of your monthly expenses as a emergency fund, and don't touch this, right? So, and everything that is above, once you build this fund, then you can say, okay, where do I want to invest? And stock market is one option, and there are also options, that within the stock market that you can, be more risky. That's why in the stock market training, I talk about different aspects of investing in stocks. You can focus on value stocks, you can focus on growth stocks, or on income stocks, and you can have different accounts that you could follow this strategy. So there are different strategies based on your age, based on your risk tolerance. So I think that one of the most important aspects of investing is knowing how to manage risk. Because, I lived through more than one crisis, stock market crisis. And even though, I was affected by this, I was not crushed by this at all. So, and, I also like to teach women about investing in real estate because, when you meet, whether it's a financial advisor or financial planner or real estate agent that want to sell you something because they get paid the commission, I want women to be informed about their options. I want women to know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Because when you are not informed yourself, people can sell you anything. And I was one of these people who was easily sold to, until I realized that, I need to be a better investor, informed investor, because I used to give my money to manage to investment advisors, and frankly, I was paying them for the service, and they lost a lot of money for me. And that's when I said, you know what, enough. Even if I ask my advice, I have my financial investment advisor, so to speak, not really advisor, because I'm telling him what I need. Now I know exactly what I need, but I cannot buy everything myself. Like, for example, I I cannot buy annuities. So I'm telling him I want annuities that gives me this, and this. So I know how to talk to them. I know what to expect from them. And you know what? Because they feel that I'm not like someone who has no idea what she's talking about. They're more mindful when they work with me. Right. Exactly. So it's very important. Even, like right now I manage I build my retirement portfolio myself and I manage it myself, but I still work with advisors when there is some financial product that I cannot buy directly. So I work with them, but I'm, definitely in a much better place than I was a few years ago when I had no idea what they were selling me and why. Right. So the same with real estate agents. Like you really need to know, because sometimes people, especially in the States in 2007, 2006, 5, that people were buying properties. They had no idea how they will pay for them. They treated their houses as ATMs, and then they really experience major crisis. So again, be informed, and I call it become financially empowered with knowledge and experience too. Exactly. So I don't know if I answered your question, because it was, sometimes when I start talking about this, I become so passionate that I go off tangent.
No, I loved your answer, because I know we started a very segmented, tangible thing that gets often thrown around in, especially coaching industry, when you talk about passive income. It's like, oh, funnels, But I love the fact that you're bringing together the aspects that usually is not even discussed amongst the women, because like, oh, that's the men's world. That's the old guys club, I would presume, or some women who are perceived very masculine and aggressive. It's not for conscious women. So I love how you bring this together. And in your
can I just add, I think I forgot to mention something.
Sure.
To build wealth, you need to leverage your resources. That's the key, to leverage your resources. And building a business is a way of building wealth as well, because you leverage your resources, whether, through building funnels or whatever. But there are other ways to build wealth. And, I prefer to, join forces with business coaches like you, who really share how to leverage resources by building business. And I add to this how to leverage resources, time, knowledge, money, energy, by using other investment vehicles like stock market investing or real estate investing. So it's a very integrative approach, right?
I loved in your ebook, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about it, because at the end of conversation, I will be also sharing a link to your ebook where people can download it. One of the aspects that really stood out was taking responsibility, and it's exactly what you just illustrated here. When you stopped trusting people who did not have your best interest in mind and playing the blame game, but you took the responsibility for your own future in your own hands. I love that this, it's a whole chapter where you write about responsibility.
I think it's a very, very important aspect of becoming financially independent, because if you feel that someone else responsible for your life, for your success, for your wealth, then you're giving away your power.
Exactly.
And you are the one who has the power, and you are the one who honestly cares more about your money than anyone else, because no matter how good the advisor may be, he's still there to sell you financial products, and because he is getting commission for it. So that's why I want to give women this awareness about their power as a human being, as a goddess, as a intelligent, capable, and very confident person, but she needs to believe that she can do that. That because when you don't believe that you can, then many women don't even try, because they feel like, oh, investment, it's for someone else, like you said, it's not for me. So taking responsibility, it's not about self-judgment or, not accepting yourself. It's the other way around. It's about it's about your deep knowing that, yes, you're capable. Yes, you can, once you put your focus on something that you really want in life, you are unstoppable. And to develop this confidence, this competence, sometimes we need to upgrade our inner psychology or psychology, and we also need to upgrade our skills. So, that's why I'm talking about integrative approach to creating financial independence, because it's a combination of upgraded skills as well as improved, mental state in terms of like your mindset, and also knowing that you're never alone, that we are spiritual beings, that we have a connection to divine source. And sometimes the best solution for you is to surrender. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is opening your heart and listen to the higher source, and knowing that no matter what, you will find a solution and you will be okay. And you are loved and abundant no matter what. And a lot of women, they don't realize that what they have right now is abundance, right? Because some people don't have what you have, what I have, what other people have. We have, clean water, we have roof over our head, and like basic stuff. Not everybody in the world has it. So I often say, thanks God I'm rich, thanks God I'm abundant. And I reinforce this vibration in my body, because, all the thoughts are basically certain vibrational energy entity, right? So it's very important to constantly be connected to higher vibration. Not like, when you play the victim, it's very, very low vibrational energy. And it's, it's very hard to succeed from the place of, poor me, everybody else is lucky, etc. It's like, we all have our own paths. There is no need to compare yourself with someone else, because you are who you are for a reason, right? And just make the most of it. And, ultimately it's the amount of joy in your heart that matters as a ultimate success, right? Money is a tool to get, more, less stress and more joyful experiences, but it's not the ultimate goal. But it's also a very important indicator of your ability to adjust your mindset, your ability to be open to new, new skills. So, yeah, that's, I guess.
I'm making notes here, because what you're sharing here, I would encourage anybody listening to review back this last part where you're talking about opening up and surrendering, and then choosing the thoughts that you're thinking and how you go about your life to really put in the work, because that's the real work, the inner work, where you start raising the vibration in life. You notice it happens for you. It doesn't happen to you as that victim mentality approach. I wish we had like 5 more hours to talk. But can you tell us, you are about to open the doors to the academy, where you're going to be teaching your students every single thing that you just outlined here, right? Can you tell us more about that?
I just realized that I didn't talk about the book. I don't know, I just went off tangent. So, the book basically is my expression of my experience, which is, again, integrative approach to creating wealth. It has information about spiritual aspect of money, and it also has very practical ideas, practical tips, golden rules of wealth creation, from money management to investing. I'm talking about very, very specific products there, very specific behavior or habits that you need to develop to really become financially independent at some point in your life. But it's a journey. You know, like every journey, you will have ups and downs, but it's possible. It's absolutely possible. It was possible for me. It is possible for every woman. Now, you know, I wrote the book for busy women. So it's a fairly, small book, easy to read, packed with a lot of tips. But, in reality, we read books and then we put them on a shelf and we don't act. So I decided to follow up with this, with particular programs where, women can work with me on specific issues that they may be going through in life. But so I'm planning to offer this Lasting Wealth Academy training. It's a 4-month training. And this academy is based on my 4-dimensional millionaire method that I mentioned earlier. It's an integrative method to creating wealth. So we're going to cover aligning with the wealth mindset or abundance mindset. We're going to have modules on this. We're going to have extensive training on how to manage your money intentionally, how to become savvy manager of your money. And, we will calculate financial freedom number for every person who will be in the program, which will be specific for, each person. It's not universal. And then we'll discuss what steps will need to be put in place to get to this number. What are the gaps? And this clarity, it provides clarity, it provides motivation. And then the next segment on next dimension is strategic investing. And that will probably take most of the time in this program. So strategic investing in this program will cover stock market investing and real estate investing. So I will give you specific suggestions and tips that I used in my life that helped me to build my portfolio of in the stock market as well as real estate. And not everything worked, and I will share with you what worked, what didn't work. So it's a very, it's a experience working with someone who actually lived through ups and downs and knows the pitfalls and stuff like that. So that's going to be the third dimension. And then because I really didn't want to keep this program too long, my spiritual dimension didn't fit into this 4 months. I decided to offer this as a bonus. So you will still get it, but it will be bonus, and I will expand my coaching beyond 4 months. I will offer extra coaching over 2 months after that, just because my spiritual dimension didn't fit into 4 months. And, for some women, 6 months might be too long. So I said, I want to keep it within 4 months, and let's make it happen. So what didn't fit, you will get it anyway, but it would be a bonus. And I also want to have a culmination of this training. I want to invite women who would be part of this program into my 3-day workshop that I'm planning to offer in the south of France at the end of June. So at the end of the program will culminate in this 3-day live workshop in the south of France. So that's the plan. That's what I'm super excited about. You can see that I'm almost like jumping up and down here, because this is almost culmination of my my personal journey to financial independence. Because now that I don't have to work, I'm grateful for what I have in my life, and I'm in a very good position to give back and to help other women to experience and enjoy more freedom in their lives.
It's like your life worth of work that they'll be given a lot of shortcuts of the hard paths that you have walked yourself, so they can take the highway and the shortcuts. My goodness, thank you so much for sharing. Now for the audience here, I'll be sharing the link to the book. So if you download the book, you will be getting the information about the Academy. And then as the doors to the Academy open, I'll be sharing this link too. So stick around, keep an eye on it, so that you make sure you don't miss the opportunity to get in on this amazing, amazing opportunity. So Millen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me as your guest, and thank you to your audience for listening. My talks for that long. That's my challenge. Sometimes when I start talking, it's like, gosh, it's time.
I, I think us foreigners have this in common because I was from Europe as well. I came to the States barely speaking any English. Now I can talk for days. Just joking.
I
So,
know. Okay, thank you very
take
much,
care.
Sarah. Really appreciate it. Bye bye.